It's about 4 a.m. It's so we've been out here since 1:53 a.m. It is July 3rd, 2021. We are in North America, Morocco. We are on the Interstate 95 near exit 57.4.
It was just bizarre. Now, this weekend, 11 heavily armed men wearing tactical gear and claiming exemption from U.S. law and state law shut down part of a Massachusetts interstate during a traffic stop. Well, they say they're part of a group that calls themselves the Rise of the Moors and say they were on their way to, quote, training. Well, the entire ordeal, it ended after an 8-hour-long standoff with police. And for reference, the Capitol breach lasted about 3 hours. Now, some of the members were arraigned yesterday in what became a pretty chaotic hearing.
How can I get a probation? How can I answer these questions of probation if I've not been charged? I've not committed a crime. I'm not guilty.
I am not a sovereign. I'm a national. All right. You understand? I am not a 13th or 14th Amendment fictitious entity. I am a free Moor. I am a national, a living, breathing man. I am not a fictitious entity.
I'm not black, I'm not Asian, I'm not Hispanic, I'm not Latino American. I am well within my constitutionally secured rights to carry and bear arms as a Moorish national. There is no harmful laws because we don't carry weapons, we carry arms.
It's a reasonable question to ask. Why isn't this being covered by the media, and what else do we need to know about them? Well, joining me now are two men who know these types well. Todd McGee, former Massachusetts State Trooper, and Chris Swecker, former FBI Assistant Director. Todd, now, you know this group. I've never heard of this group before, but you know them well from your time as a State Trooper up there. Now, what can you tell us?
Well, I think we first need to point back to sovereign citizen ideology. And what's important about sovereign citizen ideology is recognizing the recruitment tools and the propaganda that's used by the Rise of the Moors and other Moorish groups such as this, and they will point to things such as the treaty dating back to 1777. I've also seen dates of 1787, which was a treaty between the United States and the country of Morocco. Well, what that treaty was about maritime laws for maritime that allowed privilege of the United States and the privileges for the Moroccan country, their maritime, to support privileges based on economic, not treaties for citizens, but economic reasons. Just like sovereign citizens will also use maritime laws in order to confuse law enforcement during motor vehicle stops. So we have to understand that they don't recognize themselves as sovereign citizens. However, their ideology is closely aligned to sovereign citizen ideology.
Well, it's very bizarre. Well, Chris, here's what one of the men said about their supposed rights.
We operate in law, and we don't break the law. We're not against the law. We have the right to travel as a well-regulated military/militia, with the right to having no tags, no licenses, or no registration.
Chris, again, I think most people are just shocked by this, also shocked, but maybe not all that shocked, that the media gave it a pretty much of a big yawn over the weekend. Again, what do Americans need to understand about this?
Yeah, these groups emerged in the 90s, different iterations of the Moorish nation, sovereign nation, what have you. I dealt with them when I was the head of the FBI in North Carolina. They don't recognize any authority whatsoever. But they're basically a criminal organization or a set of criminal organizations that wrap themselves in some convoluted political ideology, basically to justify committing crimes. And the crimes they commit, they're prolific fraudsters. They'll take over someone's home, file quitclaim deeds, and then move into the home while they're not there. They commit tax fraud, file false tax returns. They've killed over a dozen police officers since 2002, in particular in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. One Moorish Nation individual killed 3 officers and wounded 3 others. So they present a clear and present danger to law enforcement, and nobody should take them lightly. They aren't some benign political organization. That's just a facade.
And Todd, another member spoke about what they claimed were their travel plans.
Our vehicle is full of camping equipment, which supports what I said about how we're going to our private land to train, which is our Second Amendment right.
So, Todd, what kind of training are they doing? And they seem to both cite the Constitution and then kind of claim they're not really beholden to any laws that are passed constitutionally. So it's a very odd dynamic. They're kind of picking and choosing what they will be held accountable by and to.
And that's the argument. They say that they are not anti-government, but to Chris's point, they skirt around with their language, their ideology. They will make reference to that they are independent of the law, not anti-government. To me, if you're not following the laws of the U.S., then you're anti-government. But regarding the ideology as they would speak to traveling, they say it's their God-given right to travel. That's why they don't need driver's licenses. So again, they split hairs. They find this way to manipulate words and make the words basically justify their actions. What we're seeing with the social media, the flag, and all these different things, this is going to be a propaganda and recruitment tool. So they're absolutely going to use and leverage this to gain other people in interest. Now, we don't know how many are out there. There are conflicting numbers, but watch and see the level of interest that this most recent incident over the weekend will gain the attention for the rise of the Moors.
Well, Chris, we've heard a lot from our FBI Director, Christopher Wray, and from the Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland, about the growing white supremacist threat in the United States, growing domestic terror threat. I never heard these guys mentioned, and yet in Daytona a couple weeks ago in Florida, a black paramilitary individual shot and killed a Daytona police officer. This doesn't kind of fit the narrative of Charlottesville or the white supremacists, and everything that they obsess on. So why aren't we really understanding more about them, and why isn't the federal government speaking out about this?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, they present a danger to law enforcement. They don't recognize any authority, but yet they're not recognized as extremists. Even the Southern Poverty Law Center backed off on that. They had them classified as a sovereign nation and almost a domestic terrorist group, but they backed off on that and just said they're anti-government. I don't know why. It doesn't cut both ways. It should. This is a black extremist group primarily, and we can just come out and say that. I mean, they don't recognize any authority. I really think they're more criminal organizations than they are political, ideological based. I think they use that to justify their crimes because that's pretty much all they do.
Todd, Chris, very interesting. Thank you so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.